We are married, single, widowed, and divorced.
We are mothers and daughters.
We are sisters.
We speak in varied accents and languages, but we share in the common language and experience of American women who throughout our nation's life have been denied the opportunities, rights, privileges, and responsibilities accorded to men.
For the first time in the more than 200 years of our democracy, we are gathered in a national women's conference charged under federal law to assess the status of women in our country, to measure the progress we have made, to identify the barriers that prevent us from participating fully and equally in all aspects of national life, and to make recommendations to the President and to the Congress for means by which such barriers can be removed.
We recognize the positive changes that have occurred in the lives of women since the founding of our nation, and more than a century of struggle from Seneca Falls 1848 to Houston 1977. We have progressed from being non-persons and slaves whose work and achievements were unrecognized, whose needs were ignored, and whose rights were suppressed, to being citizens with freedoms and aspirations of which our ancestors could only dream.
We can vote and own property. We work in the home, in our communities, and in every occupation. We are 40% of the labor force. We are in the arts, sciences, professions, and politics. We raise children, govern states, head businesses and institutions. We climb mountains, explore the ocean depths, and reach out toward the moon.
Our lives no longer end with the childbearing years. Our lifespan has increased to more than 75 years. We have become a majority of the population, 51.3%, and by the 21st century we shall be even a larger majority.
But despite some gains made in the past 200 years, our dream of equality is still withheld from us, and millions of women still face a daily reality of discrimination, limited opportunities, and economic hardship. Man-made barriers, laws, social customs, and prejudices continue to keep a majority of women in an inferior position without full control of our lives and our bodies.
From infancy throughout life, in personal and in public relationships, in the family, in the schools, in every occupation and profession, too often we find our individuality, our earning powers diminished by discriminatory practices and outmoded ideas of what a woman is, what a woman can do, and what a woman must be.
Increasingly, we are victims of crimes of violence in a culture that degrades us as sex objects and promotes pornography for profit.
We are poorer than men, and those of us who are minority women, blacks, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, and Asian Americans must overcome the double burden of discrimination based on race and sex.
We lack effective and political and economic power. We have only minor and insignificant roles in making, interpreting, and enforcing our laws, in running political parties, businesses, unions, schools, and institutions, in directing the media, in governing our country, in deciding issues of war and peace.
We do not seek special privileges. But we demand, as a human right, a full voice and role for women in determining the destiny of our world, our nation, our families, and our individual lives. We seek these rights for all women, whether or not they choose as individuals to use them.
We are a part of a worldwide movement of women who believe that only by bringing women into full partnership with men and respecting our rights as half the human race can we hope to achieve a world in which the whole human race, men, women, and children, can live in peace and prosperity.
Based on the views of women who have met in every state and territory in the past year, the National Plan of Action is presented to the President and the Congress as our recommendations for implementing Public Law 94-167.
We are entitled to, and we expect, serious attention to our proposals.
We demand immediate and continuing action on our national plan by federal, state, public, and private institutions so that by 1985, the end of the International Decade for Women proclaimed by the United Nations, everything possible under the law will have been done to provide American women with full equality.
The rest will be up to the hearts, minds, and moral consciences of men and women, and what they do to make our society truly democratic and open to all.
We pledge with all the strength of our dedication to this struggle to form a more perfect union.
Now recognizes the presiding officer, Bill Abzug, for the purpose of giving you some information.
The plan of action, which is the business of this plenary session, has commenced. A beautiful reading of that outstanding Declaration of American Women is setting us on our course. If we are to conclude and give consideration to each and every resolution in this plan of action, we need the very deep cooperation of this assembled body. It is intended to cover every single resolution and to provide this body with every opportunity time dictates to secure an expression on each and every one of these resolutions. It is therefore being proposed by the Commission that this plenary session, which is to go from now until 6 o'clock, deal with the sections which start with arts and humanities, go to battered women, business, child abuse, child care, credit, disabled women, and education. You can see that this is dictated by the time that we have this weekend to consider the entire plan. We would request your deepest participation and cooperation in giving an opportunity to this body and to each of yourselves to conclude by reaching education at the end of this session, and we look forward to this body creating the necessary conditions to keep in mind the necessity of brevity as we consider each of the resolutions so that we can go from arts and humanities to education tonight. The second plenary session, which will commence this evening after dinner, or the third, will cover from elective and appointive office down through media. And the fourth plenary session, which will take place tomorrow afternoon and will go until we are finished with this plan, will go from minority women to welfare, and women's department will be considered as part of implementation on Monday. So we would urge that the delegates here assembled work in their own minds to help this agenda be accomplished by moving as rapidly as possible on these resolutions from arts and humanities to education for this plenary session. Thank you very much.
I have to look at the microphone numbers. At microphone, is that 3 in that aisle? There's a yellow card. Microphone 3, 4.
Am I recognized? This is Mary Frances Hargan, a delegate from the state of Missouri, rising to a
You are recognized. What is your point of information?
My point of information is on procedure. What is the procedure for filing a minority report so that the respected divergence of opinion of this body may be expressed within parliamentary channels?
The situation in regard to a minority report is this. Section 7 of Public Law 94-167 charges the Commission with the responsibility of submitting a detailed report to the President, the Congress, and the general public of the findings and recommendations of the conference for removing the barriers that prevent women from participating fully and equally in all aspects of national life. Now, the entire proceedings of this conference are being transcribed and will be a part of the public record. Thus, everything said in behalf of either majority or minority sides will be a part of the public record. Next question. What microphone? Yes, I know. Microphone 6.
A point of personal privilege, Madam Chair. We cannot hear. This is the second time we've sent this request up, and they have not fixed the microphones. We cannot hear you back here.
Can you hear me now?
Not a little better.
How about this? Perfect. Is this better? As you know, the problem is someplace in the hall. How is this now?
No, it's no better.
How's this?
It was all right a minute ago. What did you do?
I wish I knew what to do. How's this?
Closer to the mic, try.
All right. Please, no advice from the audience. Even the engineers are having trouble with this one.
We cannot hear.
You cannot hear now?
No.
We know. They're off. All right. Well, they can't hear me. Let's see. I don't see any other. I see no other cards. That microphone. Therefore, the chair will recognize microphone 1.
Patricia Benavides, Washington. Point of information. Does the chair plan to have someone from the podium introduce the motions onto the floor, or will they be introduced from the microphones on the floor?
I assume that you are talking about the proposed plan of action. I'm about to introduce commissioners one at a time, as the case may be, to make these motions. Okay, then we will proceed, and I will present to you, for the purpose of introducing the proposed motion on arts and humanities, Commissioner Connie Plunkett of Georgia.
The first resolution is arts and humanities. I move the adoption of the following resolution. The President should take steps to require that women, number 1, are assured equal opportunities for appointment to managerial and upper-level posts in federally funded cultural institutions such as libraries, museums, universities, and public radio and TV. 2, are more equitably represented on grant awarding boards, commissions, and panels. 3, benefit more fairly from government grants, whether as individual grant applicants or as members of cultural institutions receiving federal or state funding. Judging agencies and review boards should use blind judgings for musicians, including singers, in appraising them for employment, awards, and fellowships, as well as for all articles and papers being considered for publication or delivery, and for all exhibits and grant applications wherever possible.
Is there a second? It has been moved and seconded that the conference adopt the resolution on arts and humanities as it appears before you. Yeah, I've got some parliamentary inquiries now. Please don't. Microphone 4. Is that an inquiry? That's an amendment. All right. Okay. Microphone. I am going to begin the debate then at microphone 5. Identify yourself, please.
Colleen Alexander, Pennsylvania delegation. Chairperson, I'd like to move the question. Thank you.
I know that you people know that when this happens, the chair has no choice except to put to you the question, which is on the adoption. Yeah, all right, I want to be sure you all understand this. What you are now voting on is whether debate shall be closed on this first resolution. So those who are in favor of closing debate on the motion, on the resolution of arts and humanities, and I'm going to try to do this time by voice vote since it came so fast, please say aye. Those who are opposed to closing debate on this question, please say no. The motion is carried and debate is closed. Therefore, I will put to you the motion for adoption of the resolution on arts and humanities as it was read to you and as it appears in your National Plan of Action. All those in favor of adoption of this resolution, please say aye. Those opposed to adoption, please say no. The motion is carried and you have adopted the first plan. I will now recognize the chair recognizes microphone 1 for a point of inquiry.
Madam Chairman, my name is Diane Edmondson. I am a delegate from the state of Oklahoma. Have I been recognized to speak?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. As
Only
a point of inquiry,
only for a point of inquiry.
as a point of inquiry, Madam Chairman, the rules, section 1905.4, state under method of voting, the regular method of voting shall be by standing vote, except that individuals with physical limitations may vote by raising their hands. And yet, in the reading of the rules, which, as I understood, once they had been published this way, could not be changed, we were allowed a voice vote. Point of inquiry as to whether that rule change was legal, how it was arrived at, and whether this conference must be bound by it.
My response to you is that in the first place, it was proper for the chair to put to you a voice vote because the regular method of voting is that way and then standing and counting as we've described it. It was clear to the chair and to everyone up here that there was no doubt but what the motion carried. Now, if you wish a further explanation of how the rules were arrived at, we can give it to you. But I would suggest that you see the Rules Committee first so that you do not hold up the business of this convention. The chair recognizes microphone 5 for an inquiry. What is your point?
My name is Jane. Is it on? My name is Jane Bovard. I'm a delegate from North Dakota. I would like to ask a point of information on procedure. I'd like to know if a motion is in order to alternately debate pro and con on any issues that are debatable on the floor.
Would you repeat your inquiry so that we're sure what we're replying to?
Is a motion in order that we alternately debate pro and con on any issue from the floor?
It is the intention of the chair to have pro and con debate. As I stated when the motion on removing the question which closes debate came, the chair has no option in this. When this motion is made, the chair must put the question on closing debate. Our procedure will be to have pro and con debate. All right, we will proceed then. And the chair recognizes Commissioner and Congresswoman Elizabeth Holtzman for the purpose of making a motion dealing with battered women.
The second resolution is on battered women. I move the adoption of the following resolution. The President and Congress should declare the elimination of violence in the home to be a national goal. To help achieve this, Congress should establish a national clearinghouse for information and technical and financial assistance to locally controlled public and private nonprofit organizations providing emergency shelter and other support services for battered women and their children. The clearinghouse should also conduct a continuing mass media campaign to educate the public about the problem of violence and the available remedies and resources. Local and state governments, law enforcement agencies, and social welfare agencies should provide training programs on the problem of wife battery, crisis intervention techniques, and the need for prompt and effective enforcement of laws that protect the rights of battered women. State legislatures should enact laws to expand legal protection and provide funds for shelters for battered women and their children, remove interspousal tort immunity in order to permit assaulted spouses to sue their assailants for civil damages, and provide full legal services for victims of abuse. Programs for battered women should be sensitive to the bilingual and multicultural needs of ethnic and minority women.
Has the motion been seconded? We are then ready for debate. And I know that the people in the back are feeling neglected. I can see you, I see your cards, and you will be recognized. And let me begin then with microphone 7. Where are you? Is there anybody? 8? Microphone 7.
My name is Del Martin, delegate from California. The privacy that protects the family can also muffle the blows and stifle the yells of a violent home. According to the FBI, 1/4 of all murders in the United States in 1974 resulted from family disputes. The magnitude of violence in marriage was revealed recently by a national survey. Of approximately 47 million American couples living together in 1975, it is estimated that 1.7 million faced a husband or wife wielding a knife or gun, and well over 2 million were beaten up by a spouse during the year. An additional 6 million couples will experience severe high-risk injury, violence, at some point in the marriage. And for 1 out of 2 couples, 1 or more acts of violence will occur during the course of their marriage. Wives, of course, are victimized to a far greater extent than husbands, who have superior physical strength. Experience shows that as soon as a shelter for battered women opens its doors, it is filled beyond capacity, and there is a waiting list. These statistics are appalling. We can no longer permit ourselves to repress the memory of domestic violence. We can no longer pretend it doesn't exist. Children who witness violence between their parents or who are victims themselves become the batterers and the victims of the next generation. We must break that cycle. So I beg you to vote up on the battered women proposal.
There are 2 announcements which must be made for the welfare of the people in the room. We would like to request the press who are in aisle 4 to please move. We are having difficulty in getting delegates to the microphone because of the press. We ask you to leave, and we ask the convention aides to make you move. In addition to that, it has been reported to us that there are some people smoking in spite of the ban, and we will remind you again that there is no smoking. There is one other group of people I'd like you to watch out for. We have a goodly number of disabled people, and we're very glad to have them here. it will be difficult, it is difficult for them to get to microphones to speak. If you are in an area where there are people who need help in getting to a microphone, I hope you will even be generous enough to relinquish your place in line. Chair recognizes microphone 3 for an inquiry.
Madam Chair, I'm Nikki Van Hightower from Houston, Texas. I move the question.
All right, the question has been moved, so I will put to you all those in favor of closing debate on the resolution on battered women, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. We are then ready. Wait a minute. All you've done is close debate, you know. We have not voted on the main motion. I want to tell you why we are using voice votes at this point. This is an option which the chair and the commission has. We know that it says in the rules, the ones which you received, that we would take all votes by standing, but in the interest of time and sensing up to this point that this is not difficult to decide, I am using voice votes. Therefore, I will put to you the question on the adoption of the resolution on battered women, which appears before you in the proposed plan of action. All those in favor of the resolution, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. The motion is adopted, and we have number 2. The chair recognizes microphone 1 for a point of inquiry.
Judith Lonnquist from the Washington State Delegation. I have a point of order. I believe that the rules require that after each vote the aisles be cleared, and I have people lining up for debate on items that are not before this body, and I would request that after each vote the aisles be cleared.
Your point is well taken. Our point in listing this as part of the rules was to have the aisles cleared while a vote was being taken on standing, which would be counted. At this point, I have had no difficulty determining the outcome of a vote, and thus the fact that there have been people in the aisles did not interfere. But I will ask you all again to clear the aisles. I know this is a handicap. We are ready now for the presentation of the microphone 5, a point of inquiry. Microphone 5, a point of inquiry.
Madam Chairman, I am the delegate chair of the Nebraska delegation. I would like to inquire as to how do we know who is voting when you have a voice vote? Is it the delegates or is it the observers? Now,
one of the things which you will have noted in the last 2 votes is that there have been very few noes. In no case was there in contention. I would remind you that we have 5 parliamentarians up here, plus a good many other people, and if there were the slightest doubt, I would be informed of it. Microphone 3, your point.
Madam Chairman, Georgia Peterson, Chairman of the delegates, elected delegates from Utah.
Please be quiet.
Madam Chairman, I really must protest the voice vote. This auditorium is full of observers from all sides. When the voice vote is taken, there are people who are voting who are not elected delegates. I would ask the chair to please move to a standing vote on these so that the delegates who are elected can vote from the floor.
I would remind you that your recourse in parliamentary procedure is to ask for a standing vote if you so desire it in the next event. I will then introduce to you Commissioner Ursa Poston for the purpose of introducing the resolution on business.
Madam Chair and delegates, I move the adoption of the following